Have you ever heard of Michel Duval, the man once hailed as the culinary king of Paris? He had everything: fame, fortune, and the respect of the culinary world. But all it took was one mistake, one moment of anger caught on camera, to bring his empire crashing down. What happened next wasn't just a story of loss. It was a journey of rediscovery, redemption, and a recipe that changed lives forever. The rise and fall. Michel Duval stood at the pinnacle of the culinary world. His name was synonymous with perfection, his restaurants were landmarks, and his TV show inspired millions. But behind the success was a man burdened by his own impossible standards. One fateful evening, in the bustling kitchen of his flagship restaurant in Paris, Michel lost his temper. A young sous chef accidentally overcooked a sauce, and Michel exploded. "This is garbage! You'll never be a chef!" he shouted. The young man quit on the spot, tears in his eyes. Unbeknownst to Michel, a diner had recorded the incident. By morning, the video had gone viral. Headlines screamed, "The king of cuisine turns tyrant." His fans abandoned him, his sponsors cut ties, and his restaurants shut down one by one. Within weeks, Michel went from being the most celebrated chef in the world to a disgraced figure. Alone in his Paris apartment, he stared at a photo of his grandmother, the woman who had taught him everything he knew about cooking. Her words echoed in his mind. "Cooking isn't about showing off, Michel. It's about love." Those words became his lifeline. Gathering what little courage he had left, Michel decided to disappear. He packed a small bag, took his grandmother's old recipe book, and left Paris without telling anyone where he was going. A new beginning. Michel arrived in a small town called Harmony Lane. The place was as far removed from Paris as one could imagine. The streets were lined with shuttered shops, and the people wore the weight of their struggles on their faces. Among the dilapidated buildings, Michel noticed an abandoned food truck. On a whim, he inquired about it. For a small sum, the owner agreed to sell it. And so, Le Bon Cœur, the good heart, was born. Michel kept his identity a secret, introducing himself simply as Mr. M. He began cooking simple yet comforting meals, using the recipes his grandmother had taught him. His first dish? A hearty vegetable stew made with love and served with fresh bread. At first, the locals were skeptical. Who was this stranger, and why was he here? But as the aroma of his cooking filled the air, curiosity got the better of them. One by one, they came to try his food. Among them was a young boy named Leo. He approached the truck hesitantly, clutching a few coins. "Is this enough for a bowl of soup?" he asked. Michel smiled. "It's more than enough." "What's your favorite vegetable?" "Carrots," Leo replied. "Then you'll have the best carrot soup I've ever made," Michel said, handing him a steaming bowl. Leo returned every day after that, always ordering soup for his sick mother, building a community. Word of Le Bon Cœur spread, and soon, the food truck became a gathering place for the community. Michel started hosting free cooking classes for children, teaching them how to make simple, nutritious meals. He also befriended Clara, a single mother who ran a struggling flower shop nearby. Clara was kind and thoughtful, often bringing Michel flowers to brighten his truck. Their conversations became the highlight of his days, though he never revealed his past to her. Harmony Lane began to feel like home. For the first time in years, Michel felt a sense of purpose. But his peace was short-lived. The secret exposed. One day, a food critic from Paris happened to visit Harmony Lane. As he ate Michel's stew, a flicker of recognition crossed his face. He didn't confront Michel directly, but wrote an article that night. "Is the fallen chef hiding in Harmony Lane?" The article went viral. Reporters descended on the small town, cameras flashing and microphones thrust into Michel's face. The locals, feeling betrayed, turned against him. "I trusted you," Leo shouted. "You're just like everyone else, using us to make yourself look good." Michel was devastated. He wanted to leave, but Clara convinced him to stay. "You can't run forever, Michel," she said. "If you truly care about this community, prove it." The grand feast. Determined to make amends, Michel decided to host a grand community dinner. He called it the Feast of Gratitude. With Clara's help, He gathered donations from local farmers and businesses. On the night of the feast, the town square was transformed. Tables were set up under twinkling lights, and the air was filled with the scent of Michel's cooking. As the townspeople arrived, Michel stood before them and spoke from the heart. "I came here to hide, ashamed of the man I had become. But you showed me the power of community, kindness, and second chances. Tonight, this feast is my way of saying thank you." The highlight of the meal was a dish called gratitude stew, a recipe passed down from Michel's grandmother. As the townspeople ate, laughter and conversation filled the air. Harmony Lane hadn't felt this alive in years. A recipe for redemption. In the months that followed, Harmony Lane began to thrive. Michel used his culinary skills to help revitalize the community, hosting fundraisers and teaching locals how to start their own food businesses. He also wrote a cookbook titled The Recipe for Redemption, donating all proceeds to rebuilding Harmony Lane. Clara became his partner, both in life and in running Le Bon Coeur. In a televised interview, Michel reflected on his journey. "Redemption isn't about erasing your past," he said. "It's about learning from it and using your gifts to make the world a better place. Sometimes, the simplest recipes, those made with love, can mend the deepest wounds." Ending lesson. Michel's story reminds us that no one is beyond redemption. With humility, kindness, and the courage to change, we can turn even our darkest moments into something beautiful.